As we continue to study virology, it is important to remember that each virus is unique and has distinct characteristics. One of the key distinguishing features of the viruses that we're studying is that they all bind to different cellular receptors. These are receptors that are present on the cell that are bound by the viruses and enable entry inside the cell. This is what determines if the virus is going to infect a liver cell, a lung cell, a mucosal cell, a white blood cell, etc. These receptors are critical to the specific diseases that the virus causes. Imagine these receptors are home street addresses. The virus float around in the bloodstream or on the road looking for the right street address. Once they find it, they have particular protein in their own capsid or envelope that is specific to that receptor. They knock on the door, they bind the receptor, and they can go inside the cell. The addresses are on the human cell. The receptors are on the human cell and not on the virus. They are recognized by the virus, but they are not on them specifically. For step 1, there are just a few viral receptors that are high yield and are worth knowing. Knowing these receptors is useful because they can help in the diagnostic approach to disease. If you see these receptors used in the exam, and if you know them, you can begin to think about the answer as possibly one of the viruses that we're going to discuss now. There are 6 receptors you should be familiar with. The first one is cytomegalovirus, which binds to heparin sulfate integrins. This can actually make sense because integrins are found on all sorts of cells, which is why CMV causes such a diverse array of symptoms and infects such a diverse group of organs, the colon, the esophagus, the retina, etc. The next is Epstein-Barr virus infects the B cells, infects B cells by binding to cluster of differentiation number 21, CD21. HIV has the ability to bind to 3 different receptors, CD4, CXCR4, or CCR5. CXCR4 is found on T cells, while CCR5 is found on macrophages. So HIV can infect either T cells or macrophages. Very good. Parvovirus, B19, looks for P antigens. Parvovirus binds P antigens that are present on red blood cells. Remember, the parvovirus binds and infects red blood cells. The rabies virus binds to nicotinic acetylcholine receptors that are found in the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, and on the skeletal muscle at the neuromuscular junction. By interacting at all of these locations, the rabies virus leads to a fatal disease that is characterized by a whole array of symptoms, including partial paralysis, anxiety, confusion, agitation, hallucinations, that eventually progresses to delirium and coma. And finally, we have the rhinovirus, which infects ICAM, or a receptor that's found on endothelial cells of blood vessels. Very good. So hopefully this short review of viral receptors will help you understand why viruses are specific to certain cell types, and hopefully it can help explain some of the diseases that have been discussed in this virology chapter.